I'm gonna be annoying right now.
Ew, it's a Big Bang actor. Get it away. Don't let it touch me with its laughter track and shittier jokes than mine. Being unfunny is my shtick.
Because I want to talk about something that a lot of people don't want to talk about.
Is that because it's stupid and involves you trying to force people to speak, think and act in a certain way based on nothing more than your misunderstanding of language and your massive sense of entitlement? Let's find out.
I was recently at a bar with two guy friends who are about 40.
Two problems with that. Who let you out? And how the hell did you end up convincing anyone to be your friend? Already so much of this story isn't adding up.
And one of them said to the other, "Oh my god, dude, look at that girl sitting at the bar. She's beautiful."
I'm sorry, was he talking to you? What gives you the right to join in the hijinks of this clearly totally real story?
And I start looking around, wondering why they would let a child into the bar.
So apparently not only are you retarded, but you seem to also think that two 40-year-old men you hang out with are paedophiles and that isn't your primary concern.
Then I realized that when he said girl, he meant woman.
No, he meant human female, and used a perfectly apt descriptor in modern parlance.
But since she's in that super narrow age range between 5 years old and 55 years old...
Right, dumbass. Let me explain to you how this works. The way you describe someone you don't know is usually based on how they present themselves, and it's also about authority. And this applies to both men and women. If you're in a business and you see an older man behind a desk in an office, you would think, man. But in that same space, there was a 25-year-old male, ostensibly a man, but he's doing a job like womaning a printer. Because this is a particularly busy office. You wouldn't call him the copy man, would you? And you don't go into bars, see a female dressed up, ready to go out and have fun, and have her expect you to call her a woman. It's too formal, it's just not right. And again, a man doing the same thing, well, an older woman would call him a boy. I know I'm really labouring this point, but it has to be done because I think you might have had your head wedged in a car door when you were a child and lost the ability to people.
We just don't know what to call her, so we call her a girl.
I know what to call you, but I can only use so many swear words in a video before YouTube eats my money, so I'm just going to call you a silly Billy.
Sorry folks, I have to do this.
No, you really don't. And you in fact shouldn't, because you are embarrassing yourself more than you do every time you turn up in that reprehensible trash fire of a show that dares to call itself a sitcom. Sitcoms have jokes. Listing off a bunch of hardware and hobbies is not a joke. Stop it.
We have to stop calling women girls.
You really need to stop telling everyone in the world what they can and can't say/think.
Why?
Because you are not the arbiter of speech and language, and the more you push to make people act the way you want, the less likely they are to do it. It has the opposite effect. Also, you're not my real mum.
Because it matters what we call people.
What I call people matters only to me and the people I am talking to. Stop trying to insert yourself into other people's business. Get a job. I know, I meant a real one you could actually be proud of instead of one that makes your parents cry themselves to sleep every night trying to figure out where they went wrong.
Language matters. Words have meaning.
Meanings that you don't seem to comprehend, including nuances to those meanings that change dependent on a little thing called context. And the thing about context, it matters.
And the way we use words changes the way we frame things in our mind. Google Sapir-Whorf if you don't believe me. It's science.
Well, my understanding of the Sapir-Whorf hypothesis or linguistic relativity is that it's primarily about comparing different languages, and that the way you're framing it, which would be linguistic determinism, or put simply, it definitely affects the way people think, is largely considered not true. Linguistic influence is more accepted, aka it can affect how people think, emphasis on can, but my main issue with the whole thing, it doesn't appear to look into whether the culture itself more affects the language than the other way round, which, considering language is a social construct, it would make sense for the way we think to primarily come first. It's not exactly the strongest argument for your stance, sweet cheeks, but it's alright. Don't worry your pretty little head about it. Now see, as an example of what I was saying there, I called you those things because I think you're kinda dumb. But I worked out you're kinda dumb the second you started rattling off terrible ideas about how other people should speak. Didn't need someone to call you a girl for me to patronise you. I based it on you and how you behave. You know, like normal people does.
So when we use words to describe adult women that are typically used to describe children, it changes the way we view women, even unconsciously.
Not women, a woman, an individual, and it's not changing our view of that woman. She has already presented herself as girly, therefore girl.
So that we don't equate them with adult men.
It's like you don't think we have a word for adult females presenting themselves as adult. Why would we have the word woman if we don't use it? Hint, we do all the time, and you're talking straight out of your arse.
In fact, it implies that they're inferior to men.
In fact. I'm not sure you know what that word means. We've had decades of female empowerment, including slogans used by adult women like girl power. Does it ring any bells? Also, I have 2 girls, twin daughters, and I think they are better than just about everybody in existence, especially myself. Maybe if you didn't have such a horrifically low opinion of girls, you wouldn't think this way, you sexist pig.
Even if that's not what most people intend.
Intention is everything when it comes to words. If a sexist makes a sexist joke, it makes me cringe. But if someone I know who categorically isn't sexist, say they work on programs to help end this, that and the other, and they come out with a sexist joke, even if it's quite tame, that'll be 1,000 times funnier than the sexist telling even the funniest sexist joke. Remember what I was saying earlier about context? Yeah, still a thing, still matters.
Words have an impact on our unconscious. Case in point, you would never say to someone, go ask that boy behind the bank counter if the notary's here today.
Oh my god, did you just debunk your own point? Yeah, you wouldn't. And if there was a woman sat at the desk and was wearing smart attire, you see where I'm going with this, numpty McDurpin face?
We never call men boys.
Liar. Golden boy, rent boy, little boy's room, whipping boy, bad/naughty boy, boys will be boys, boys toys, good old boy, atta boy, mama's boy, poster boy, cold one with the boys in blue, old boy. Or maybe you're just an idiot who lives in a bubble. All of these and way more are all terms applied to grown men or things they are interested in. They're used all the time. It's incredible that you don't know these, apparently. Hell, here's another. Boy toy, a term used by an older woman to describe a younger man she is sexually involved in. It's like you haven't got a goddamn clue what you're talking about.
Because it's demeaning and emasculating.
That's kind of hot.
And are there women who don't mind being seen as diminutive because they think that men should be in charge and that they should be tender and delicate? Of course.
But they are being women's wrong. They don't respect the womans. They don't respect themselves. Kill them!
And there are all kinds of men and women, and I promise, that's okay.
Is it though? Are you sure? Because it sounded like earlier you were saying people need to think and feel the way you decide. Can't really have it both ways, darling.
But to these women, I would say the following.
You're about to talk down to a bunch of women you don't know and clearly have no idea what their life experiences are. I mean, you don't know anything about anyone. You don't even know any idioms with boy in them. I bet you don't even know what idiom means.
There is a thing that happens when we grow up in the kind of male-centered culture that we live in. We start to believe that the way things are is the way they have to be. We start taking on the biases and judgments of women which have been in place since an historical time when women weren't respected or even allowed into the public sphere. The terms we're using for women are outdated and insensitive.
It's amazing that you're so knowledgeable, in big quotes, and yet you're trying to speak with such authority on this subject. Do you even know where the term girl comes from? Girl, until surprisingly recently, meant child. Girls were girls, boys were girls, didn't matter. Boy was a term for slave. Now, not to use a word that has been so bastardized and shit on that it almost has no meaning whatsoever, but that sounds really goddamn problematic to me. And having you sit there trying to, educate people on fucking anything is laughable. Frankly, I'd be surprised if you dressed yourself this morning.
And they assume a structure of power where men are on the top and women are on the bottom.
Why don't you prove it? Oh, who the hell am I kidding?
And in certain eras and in certain parts of this country and the world, this kind of thinking has persisted for far longer than it should have. And we know better now.
Oh, do we? It's almost like the language doesn't dictate how we treat people.
It's up to us to change this narrative.
How about we just not try to control the minds and let things drift towards being better, instead of repeatedly trying to steer the ship into icebergs that have equality misspelled on them?
To those of you who call women girls, I say this.
I'm expecting some sort of high-pitched screeching sound designed to melt retinas.
I know your intentions are probably good,
That's a funny way of calling someone a piece of shit.
but I hope you can learn to see the unintended and negative impact your words can have.
Says the woman on the show that gave me super cancer.
And if you're feeling confused about whether or not to call someone a girl, let me help you out. Here's how it goes.
Oh God, you telling people how it is actually hurts my non-existent soul.
Decide if the human being in front of you is in fact a girl. Indications that she may in fact be a woman are a high school diploma, a job, a car she pays insurance on, a mortgage, a home she calls her own, or a 401k.
Hello, fellow human female. I require entire life's history so I can determine which designation to apply to you. Do you even show this crap to other people before you shit it out onto the internet?
Girls tend to be under the age of 18 and typically live with their parents.
The best part of all of this, had you simply Googled the definition of girl, I doubt you would have made this video. Girl. 1. A female child. 2. A young or relatively young woman. Although, you probably would have struggled with the word relatively.
Being a mom is usually a very strong indication that someone is in fact a woman.
It did just occur to me that you are also in fact a complete racist because you're telling black women they can't use the term, "Hey girl," to speak to their friends, as common parlance in black culture. Man, you are just the worst.
And the thing we need to start doing as women, and for those of you out there who may not be women but who know and love women, is to consistently, gently, kindly, and politely correct people when they call women girls.
If you ever want anyone to invite you to anything ever again, do not do this. No one likes that asshole who tells them how to speak. And you do that shit to me, I'm going to go away, stuff my mouth with food and drink, and then I'm going to come back and laugh in your face, being sure to get as much mess onto you as possible. And if you then call me up about that, I'm going to go away and I'm going to do it again.
I've found a few ways to do this that only make people hate me after I walk away.
Christ, at least she's self-aware enough to know that people hate her.
To my face, they seem pretty receptive to it.
It's called being polite and attempting to appease you temporarily until you leave, at which point they say, "Isn't that asshole from that terrible TV show?"
When someone refers to someone as a girl and I know she's a woman, I'll say so.
I would never take you anywhere.
I'll sometimes say things like, "She's got a full-time job and 150 people on payroll. I'm pretty sure she's a woman."
That must flow well into conversation. You am good at the talkings.
And I'll smile.
I'm pretty sure that will more than likely get people to slap you.
Because you get more flies with honey. Or if someone says to me, "Your publicist is such a great girl," I'll say, "She's the COO. That makes her a woman."
When someone is nice about someone I know, I make a snippy remark. And then I wonder why all my exes killed themselves in front of me.
And who knows, maybe if we start using language that elevates women and doesn't equate them with sweet, small, cuddly, tender things, we'll start treating them as more than that as well.
Women, in my experience, fucking hate being treated like men. Men are treated like shit in society, and by other people in general. Women are doted on, given things and benefits for basically no reason. I don't think you'll like how this all pans out.
Language sets expectations. Let's set ourselves up to have women behave like mature, responsible women.
Some women do, some women don't. What gives you the right to force that on anyone? Oh yeah, nothing. Go fornicate yourself. I'm pretty sure no one else will, you insufferable whinge bag.
In this way, we encourage women to keep being the complicated, wonderful, unique, gifted beings that they are.
Wait, if they are already that, what was the fucking point of any of this? You know playing a smart person on TV doesn't mean you actually are one. And the most insane thing about all of this was accidentally the funniest thing you've done since being on that cursed show. Zing!